My name is John Passfield. The title of this reading will be John and Santa, the Cowboy Shirt Video 20, the poem. So here is the cover. John and Santa, the Cowboy Shirt. The summary is this. As writer John Passfield is driving home from a December book discussion meeting and thinking about the Christmas topics that were discussed, in particular Dickens, who wrote a novella that transformed the world's conception of Christmas, he suddenly finds himself sitting in a sleigh, pulled by Rudolph and 8 tiny reindeer. What an excellent opportunity to ask Santa about a 70-year-old puzzle, the mystery of the missing cowboy shirt. A poem in a poetic novel or a poetic play offers an alternative lens through which to view the story that the ideas, the emotions, and the actions of the characters are making. It's a time-honored writing technique. An example from Shakespeare of a poem which is embedded in a work of literature is the poem Fear No More, The Heat of the Sun. It's from the play Cymbeline. And here it is. Here's the first verse at least. Fear no more the heat of the sun, nor the furious winter's rages. Thou thy worldly task hast done. Home art gone, and ta'en taken thy wages. Golden lads and girls all must, as chimney sweepers, come to dust. So I'm going to read that a second time. All words of one syllable, but it takes in a whole lifetime, eh? Home art gone, and ta'en thy wages. You've gone home and taken your day's pay. That's the life cycle right there. So here it is. Fear no more the heat of the sun, or the furious winter's rages. Thou thy worldly task hast done. Home art gone, and ta'en taken thy wages. Golden lads and girls all must, as chimney sweepers, come to dust. So it's a beautiful poem, but it's a lens through which to view the characters and the actions of that particular play. That's the point. There are 2 poems which are embedded in the text of this novella. Each poem has 1 stanza in each chapter, for a total of 10 chapters, 10 stanzas in each poem. So let's have a look. One is about an explorer. So let's go to page 9 for the first verse. Whoops, I haven't got page 9, have I? Okay, here's page 9. So this is a poem about an explorer. So it's in the poetic novella in order to illuminate the characters and the actions, to light them up, to suggest meaning. An explorer was crawling on his belly. Okay, that's all in chapter 1. We go to page 16, which is in chapter 2. And here's the second verse. His fire had gone out, and he was in the dark. Then to the third verse, page 24. The explorer was startled by a huge red glow. Page 32. He edged ever closer to the rim of the valley. Then page 41 for the next installment of this little poem. The explorer was amazed at what he saw below. Page 50, we go to a group of animals was sitting in a circle. Page 59, there we have it. An elephant, a giraffe, a wildebeest. Page 69, 10 pages later. Each animal was contributing to the big red glow. Then page 78. So, when you feel down, just think of Rudolph, the mongoose was saying. And then we go to page 87 for for the final verse of this poem. And don't ever feel ashamed of your shiny red nose. So that's the poem of the explorer. One verse in each chapter of thought of the main character of this novella. What do poems do? Well, they seek to illuminate characters and events. Okay, this one's called the Krampus. Krampus. I'd never heard of this. But at the meeting, one of the members of our little group, we meet to discuss books. We met to discuss Christmas a year ago in December 2021, and he brought some photocopies of the Krampus and talked about it, and I'd never heard of it, so I went home and looked it up. So now it's part of this novella. So here's page 10 for poem 2, the poem about the Krampus. Year after year, the Krampus requested a meeting. Page 16. Year after year, he was told that Santa had refused. Page 24. Krampus was told that Santa would not even send a representative. Page 32. And on no terms would Santa attend himself. Then we go to 42, obviously 10 pages later, to get another installment of this little poem. In fact, there's never been a meeting in all those years. So Santa and the Krampus have never met, we're told. That's 42. We go to 50. But Santa and I are in the same business, explained the Krampus. Then 59. We both keep watch over the boys and the girls. Then 69. We compile separate lists, explained the Krampus. Then 78. I'm proposing that Santa and I share our information. And then 87. I'm proposing that we, Santa and I, says the Krampus, I'm proposing that we consolidate our lists. So it's interesting. Now there's an image in chapter 1 of this novella that says there's an old folk story that Santa and the Krampus were twinned at birth. So it's interesting, eh? So they have similar roles in society, but they're also very, very different. And the Krampus would like to share information with Santa, and Santa says there won't be a meeting. He won't attend it if there is one, and he won't even send a representative. So that's all very interesting. They're all rather cryptic, but if you apply it to the other imagery in the novella, something might occur to you. John and Santa is obviously a Christmas book. Last December, I gave away a number of these books as Christmas presents. I don't often give books away. I give a handful of copies of each of my books to friends and relatives as soon as I have the printed copies, but no more. Whenever I give a new book away, there are 2 questions I never ask. The first question is, did you read the book? The second question is, did you like the book? These are 2 questions that I've never asked and never will. The reason is that I'm inventing a set of conventions for the poetic novel of our time, the early 21st century. So, a person who's not read the book might have found that he or she could not read the book. This would be a case of not knowing the conventions by which the book is written and by which the book may be read. So every door has a key, but if you don't have the key, you cannot open the door. When such a reader comes to the poems, for instance, one stanza of each poem in a chapter and not another for 10 pages or more, Readers who know all of the conventions of the contemporary prose novel, as one knows the language which one has grown with which one has grown up, sorry for the slip there, might wonder how in the world to read such a book. They might even conclude that it's unfortunate that poor John doesn't know how to write a book. I've had people suggest to me that if I just make changes, my books would be a lot easier to read. Take the poems out, perhaps. That would make the books easier to read, as they would be like all the other books of our time. So, I have to say to myself that the opinions of people who don't know the conventions with which I'm working, many of which I'm inventing, are irrelevant to me. More than that, they are dangerous to me, because if I start worrying about why people cannot read my books, I might be tempted to make the books easier to read. Well, easier to read would be to employ more familiar conventions of presentation. That would mean that I'm no longer writing the poetic novel of our time, that I'm no longer writing the John Passfield poetic novel. It's important for commercial writers to ask their readers whether they've read the book and whether they like the book, as this is valuable feedback in tailoring the writing program to the wishes, the needs of the writer's audience. It's just the opposite with writers of serious literature. One writes the best book that one can possibly write in the form that best expresses the writer's own sensibility, one's response to the life experience that one has lived, and then puts the book out there to be discovered by its ideal reading audience. So, I give some of my books away to a selection of friends and relatives, or to a few other writers with whom I exchange our newly published books, but I never ask anyone these two questions. Did you read the book? And did you like the book? For a very good reason. So, this is the book, John and Santa, the Cowboy Shirt. It's on Amazon. More information there. It's on roxmillspress.com, my publisher's website, with more information. The planning notebook and the journal are there for free access at johnpassfield.ca, which of course is my website. So lastly, I'll say thank you for watching this video.